Welcome. Good evening, folks. I hope this doesn't go crazy. My CPUs are through the roof, and my frames are crap, and I'm not happy. I'm watching it be super choppy everywhere I look, and I'm doing the best I can. Hi. Shalom, folks. Where to begin? Well, I spoke about the weight, the heaviness recently to Brother Moshe. Um, right up front, I'm not opposed. I'm open. I'm in a place right now where people have to understand that I do have a family to lead. I have something to do here, something to fix, and I've lost a lot of it. Hold on, I gotta cough. Okay. And I also have to adjust a little bit here because I have slouched, waiting to try to get this stuff working again, and it's not doing well. Something's very, very wrong, and I can't figure it out. So I'm going to close a couple more windows of things. I'm not running a lot of stuff, but there's a massive load of something going on that's sucking up my cycles, and I am most likely going to have to redo this rig from the beginning. All right, I'm not using that. I'm going to shut that down. Should give me something. Anyways, my apologies if this is a choppy mess. All right. Because it's important for some of the new folks, I have to offer a little testimony, okay? Just so some people can understand what I'm up against here, okay? I'm 56 years old, born a ward of the state, taken from my parents at birth, told I was not allowed to have them. They were not allowed to have me. Not too sure how that plays out on the back end of things, because I only know a little bit of heart disease, and I kind of found out the foster home where I lived in, the hospital I was born. I know the lineage, basically. The father was a German guy, and the mother was an English school teacher. I guess the father was a carpenter of sorts or a construction guy. That's all I really know. And the people that adopted me, Roger and Muriel, they didn't have their act together, and they adopted me so they could try to fix their marriage. And it was truly a situation where they should have gotten a dog. And I hate to say it that way because they just got me for the wrong reasons. Other people were having kids, and Roger was sterile, and so they chose to adopt. And moving forward into that, there's evidence on record that I'm a witness to. I've heard the record, and I know the divorce proceedings. He was an adulterer, and many more things revealed over time, his perversions, his idolatries, and possibly something worse. I knew he was a narcissist. He destroyed Muriel throughout the 15 years that they were married before I showed up. And so he was gone before I was 3 years old. They got separated. I was adopted 18 months. So that's, as everyone knows, that's just about 6 months before I'm 2. And so he was gone just before I turned 3. So he was only really in my life for for a very brief moment. But the rest of the moments he was there, it was kind of horrifying and horrible. Not abusive, but cruel, mentally abusive. So I want people to know right off the bat, there is no mama and papa. There's no family. There's an adoptive family that doesn't treat me well, has never treated me well, has always treated me as an outsider. Um, when the divorce started to go through and things really started to get bad for my mom, uh, Roger stopped paying every bit of alimony and child support that he was supposed to. It caused us to lose the apartment we lived in Marlborough, Massachusetts, and we were forced to beg. And what happened is we got lucky that a friend of my mother, or somebody my mother worked with, Mr. Napoleon R. DePina, Mr. Pete DePina. You could look him up. He was my mentor and basically the replacement father. Um, we were lucky enough to get an in-law apartment in Bolton, Massachusetts, and I'm about 10 or 11 years old when we move here, where I will have to say my first encounters with Yahuah happened there, where I would say the drawing. Growing up next to a place called the Freedom Farm, a non-denominational Christian organization of would-be believers, professed believers, but it was a place I was safe to ask a lot of the questions that a lot of us ask today. Uh, it was safe back then to ask them. So, I mean, mom and dad, Protestant, never practicing, and then divorced and split apart, both of them adulterers, mind you, caught by many people, including myself, growing up. Exposed to pornography very early and suffered greatly for it. Lust of the flesh. Um, it is what it is. I purposely chose obedience to Yahuah in that realm when I started to see, and I chose marriage, and I chose faithfulness and fidelity throughout all things in that. And that was in 2000 when my wife, Anne, after I had been working on the road, self-storage buildings. I was working for a company called Ideal and Steel, and I had just been offered a foreman's position, and I made a different decision even before I met her, and I had met her that night, and my life changed quite a bit. I went from homeless, which is what I was, because I made a lot of mistakes, and I hurt a lot of people. I was a thief. I was a liar. I was a fornicator. I was lost. I coerced and convinced. I tricked and I schemed. I was lost, even when I thought I was saved all those years. A lot of folks are coming to the realization that they've been wandering in the desert for 40 years. Some people I've heard speak recently in some of the videos they've asked me to watch, that's what they've said. They've come to something. Something is pulling and drawing us towards something. So straight up front, I don't want to be tossed around by every wind of doctrine. So I got to come out and say this. This is what's happening. It's what's happening. Meaning that a lot of people that reach out to me, that try to friend me, that are showing up, following, asking me to follow, and know right up front that I make no man my master. I haven't even been able to master anything myself. And I'm learning what that really means. I suffer greatly from attention deficit disorder, and I was in what you'd have to understand is called the patient zero predicament, where in between the 1968 and 1973 and onward into the testing phases just to the early 80s, where I got my tests, um, I started to have real severe problems in school, going from super A student, super smart, gifted, told I was talented. I was musically inclined. I could read. My mother she had a great talent for teaching me, Muriel, and I could read when I was 3. But the divorce and all of the issues, the having to move here and there and not being able to settle and never understanding why no one really liked me and how I didn't fit in, and not really knowing then that the stigma of familial separation and the stigma of divorce in the 70s, kids were cruel to other kids because they had the normal life. And also parents and people. Divorce wasn't that heard of. It was, the statistics were there to prove that it wasn't common. But my mother and father were steeped in it, and I was treated different, and I never knew why. Part of me today would like to think Yahuah was looking out for me the whole time, because that's what some of my testimony proves, wholeheartedly. Um, but the ADD and the divorce and everything, and dyslexia started to creep in. It's worse than it ever has been before, both situations. And let me be clear, when I say patient zero group, they didn't have the terminology then. Uh, I'm thinking the food pyramid, the diet, the change of how things, all the changes that happened, the taking of the second parent out, women wanting to work, and now they're taxed. And now they're not home because they're paying for daycare and babysitters. The world changed viciously. It changed. My mom used to go from being home with me all the time to never being home when I was very young because of what Roger did. The administration at the school I was at in junior high at Emerson School in Bolton, they started to think I was cheating on tests because I would get good test scores but never turn in any homework. And I was flunking because of it, homework being part of the grade back then. And so my guidance counselor, Mrs. Powers, she had put me in the program at the time where they were investigating what's going on with our kids, basically. Why are these bright children suffering in these areas? And so I was tested in different ways. I took the Stanford Binet IQ test back then, and I was tested in the realm of let's watch him to make sure he's not cheating. And that was kind of hard because all throughout grade school, I was treated differently, really differently. The ADD was so bad that I actually missed almost all of second grade because of it. I had a teacher, Mrs. Lynch, who was cruel. And instead of helping me focus, she took me to the front of the class and put me at this round table, and I sat in front of everybody. And I was not even allowed to look at her to the side here, but I had to keep my head down on the table. And if I moved, flinched, sneezed, coughed, yawned, stretched, she would come up and grab me by the back of my hair and pull my head up and kind of yell over my face for almost the whole year until, you know, things got a little different. I don't know how it happened, but something happened. They got a little different, but it didn't really get better because the divorce went through and everything went through, and I couldn't stay in that school. And then I moved to Bolton, and I'm in a new school, all new friends, all starting over, and nobody knows what's going on with me. And so they find out that I have very high IQ. I'm Mensa qualified, if that means anything to anybody. qualified and considered, but I'm not now. I'm no longer a candidate because I'm no longer interested in that realm. Doesn't really matter. Um, they gave me a chance, an opportunity to not stay back by making me absorb lunch and recess. Well, sorry, give away lunch and recess by taking on the classes I failed in the next year. So I was able to graduate with my class and move to the high school with them and not be too embarrassed, which was nice. I was in therapy at the time with uh, a Dr. Kenneth Munger, who verified the IQ tests, but I couldn't stay with him when he wanted to talk to me a little bit too much about the realm of self-touching and self-pleasure. Let's just put it that way. I had already knew I had a problem with just that. And that was around the time I discovered a lot of different things in my life about who I was and who I wasn't. Fast forward to 17, and I'm one of the last non-high school graduating military-aged men to be allowed to enter without a high school diploma because I took the ASVAB and I got a 96. So I scored pretty high, and numbers don't lie. Currently, it places me in a pretty high percentage in the intellectual range, but it doesn't matter because I can't keep my focus and I can't get stuff done. Part of the dilemma, I really don't know what goes on. There's a deep like trance that happens sometimes when I get caught up in the distractions, and those distractions tend to, and I just got a message, but I don't know who that is. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. The stupid bling in my ear. Okay, yeah. So one of the most prolific issues with the ADD happened, and I don't know how it happened. I started to notice how when I would read a distraction of the story itself, and I'd drift into like a daydream of sorts, and I'd pass out. Well, this started to happen around when I was 20. It might be something more, but it translated into me not being able to stay focused, not stay in. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, I lose this little remote every 2 seconds. I lose my keys. I almost lost my child. And I almost died on the highway because of it. I got so distracted by something, and I don't even know. I was on Route 3, headed between Massachusetts and New Hampshire. It's a 2-lane highway, and it's just us, 2 lanes going one way, and across in the trees is the other side of it because it's the old Route 3, the old horse trail of Route 3. And I got worried around exit 26, and then I woke up scraping the guardrail near exit 29 on the other side of the highway just before a huge dip where my little Geo Storm would have gone over the edge to my death, and that car got wrecked. The whole side of it got wrecked. And yeah, I never actually drove long distance again. Now, I don't know. I mean, that's not like an ADD thing, but there's a relative thing that took over, like white line fever, something that truckers deal with. And we could never identify the doctors I had at the time back then because, I mean, I didn't have insurance. I didn't have that kind of job. So, is my hypothalamus having pressure put on it? Is something happening to make me pass out? Well, it happened later in life, here in the house, after I just came home with Adrian from school, and he was just a youngin, and he stripped off all his clothes like he normally did, and I went into the bathroom to do my thing, and I came out, Well, I had the water running and somehow I passed out. I fell right asleep quickly, like passed out, not asleep. And because I got caught up in thinking about something, I close my eyes and I get into these little daydreams. And this is what happens. It happens now and I can't get stuff done. I'll talk to my son about it and I'll sit in the other room and he'll have to come and check on me because I'm just there forever, just thinking about doing something instead of actually doing it. And so I had to, all my life, have to create these little systems to keep myself focused, keep things governed, and make it so I'm not like losing it all the time. I mean, I came out here, I lost my keys all the time. I lost that. I lost the bank card. I lost my ID a few times. That used to be my my thing. Losing track of everything. Losing my ID, losing my girlfriend, losing my job. Losing my job because I couldn't maintain schedules. I couldn't keep things focused. Something was very, very wrong all the time. It still is. All my life, I couldn't keep a job because of it. A stay-home dad, what my wife offered me was a godsend, a Yahuah send, if you want to say it right. It was truly a godsend, um, because that frantic nature of running after kids and needing to be on the, it kept me going, and only in those moments where whatever happened is when I would drift, and I was thankful, but ADD took over and did other things. With all that aside, I'm here in Brooklyn. I meet this woman 20 years ago. I don't really know what's going on in our marriage anymore. I became became a Catholic, forgive me, because I wanted to avoid having to go all the way to the Philippines because this is what was required. I needed to go sign documents at her church where she was baptized to say I was such and such. It's weird, her culture, or I had to become a Catholic. And I wasn't going to go spend $2,200 a piece to fly at back at the time. I mean, because we're going to have to go, we're going to have to stay, we're going to have to take care of the rent. It's a lot of logistics to take care of. And I wasn't going to be able to do that. So I became a Catholic. But I'm drawn. Don't get me wrong. I've had the scriptures since I was a child and I could read, a young child. And my first contentions with Yahuah were always, I didn't understand at first, and I keep talking about this. I didn't understand at first why Yahuah needed to plague Pharaoh so often. I also, very early on, didn't understand why people didn't understand Shaul, or of Tarsus, Paul, if I'm saying that right. Why they didn't understand him. Because he never preached against Torah, ever. And none of them broke Torah. They didn't throw it away. They didn't change days. We know where all this came from, and we know why. And it's a lot more prolific than we know, because I believe in the 360-day calendar. I believe in a lot of what many of us believe in. I know Easter's false. I know Christmas is false. I know these things. This was how I was led. I was led to different teachers over time to the point where, okay, they had what I needed. Time to move on. I can go through the list, because men are fallible, right? We're all fallible. We're all subject to sin and the fall of man. So, we don't talk anymore, but Kent Hovind, yeah, he was put in my arena as far as creation, right? And then Ken Ham takes over there. And then through logic and reason, Kevin Thompson at Beyond the Fundamentals, who was, even though he preaches specifically against Calvinism, um, he had a way of, he was one of the first teachers that I could tell there is something there. There is some sort of spirit there, because he'd be teaching on a subject, but underneath, inside the teaching, there's truth that comes through that your spirit identifies with, and you may or may not be convicted by it, led by it, taught by it, where it's not the intention of the teaching, but inside of it there's a teaching. This happened with Moshe the other night when I was fortunate enough to find that. This happened with even Jackson, Souffrant. This happens a lot with certain people. You're drawn, and you know, just like you would know when you heard false teaching, right? So I could never tell you if I was elect. I could never tell you if I was saved. I can tell you I can tell you I know something, right? I don't have mere belief. I know what Yahuah did for me. I know the type of conviction I felt in 2018, right? I know what was asked of me, and I know the type of sin that I committed. If I really get to talk with one of you, and I'm able to offer the full testimony of that 2018 event, you'll know. And the subsequent providential events that happened afterwards. Because I can't even tell you what's going on here. The weirdness of here, the pull, the weight of all of this as it's unfolding. I have a new series of friends, one of whom which is introducing a teaching that I was familiar with in the past. I haven't been led to it particularly because of the crisis in the home. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a teacher. And there's a overwhelming negative spirit in this home that, I'm going to say it plainly, either my wife is suffering. I'm not a clinician. I'm not her clinician, but I've been spending about the past 10 years studying this under Professor Vaknin, and the idea of it for about 10 years. And then about 4 to 5 years ago, we started becoming more aware of the research into narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, cluster B type of personalities, and mental unrest like this. It became important because we started to see things in my wife that didn't make sense. And it wasn't simple so-called grievance, and it wasn't standard. And it was usually in the realm of just asking questions that posed to be somewhat challenging, but not really she's doing something absolutely wrong. But absolute wrong did unfold, an absolute betrayal, and more. Possible infidelity I can't accuse. I don't know the facts, but I do know what herpes 2 is. And I do know what my doctor told me. I can put it that way. And I do know where I've been for the past 26 years, taking care of 3 autistic boys with not an ounce of time to go anywhere and be with anybody. And I would have witnesses always with me. I'm a different kind of guy. I'm not the kind of guy my wife thinks I am. She's never gotten to know me. No one really does get to know me. And I guess that's a good thing in a lot of ways. So let me cut right to the chase. As I've being led this way, in and out of places, false tongues, false this, false doctrines, false ideologies. Everybody knows the recent story about, they don't. And I don't want to keep saying it. because I don't want to keep saying it. Dude, this is really choppy. It's really bad. I'm at 9 frames, 10 frames, but look, why does it look so good? Huh? I don't know what's really going on. I mean, I've never seen it look like this. Let me see. Oh, because I might be still on dribble here. Let me change my camera. Change my view, folks. Let's go down here. Maybe this is a lighter footprint. Nope. Big text. And we'll shut down the rotator. Okay. Maybe that'll help. Tiny bit. I don't think so. What a mess. I'm going to shut off my timers, and I am going to take this to full screen. And we'll just get rid of some of the extra assets that are around. Hopefully that will cut down on what this thing's got to do. Oh, my apologies. So I'm done with dispensationalism, right? I was shown Calvinism, led out of that church. I've been shown false churches. I even found a church it was on a corner of 2 streets, a 6 and a 66, and you couldn't make that up. It was weird, and they had all sorts of problems in handling the word and discipline in the sanctuary, so to speak. And everything's a Roman model. We all know what that means when I say it. It's all modeled after Rome. So, every man who wants to lead his family to Yahuah through the teachings of Yahushua, right? And they want to submit and obey to the reconciling and the calling that's within them due to the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Some people are saying it a different way now. And that's what I'm getting at, okay? I love the brother that has the heart for truth. I want that. You see, I want kingdom existence. I want to believe that there's a place. And I can I think you can understand that. Because right now I got a wife that's separated from me and estranged. And all she has to do is come home. I had to send her away because she was not responding to the need for reconciliation, to the need for confession, to the need for truth telling, for the blame shifting and the deflection to stop. For 25 years, this homeless man, once the cycles started to really show themselves in the patterns, I've been always under threat, worried that because I have no family of my own anymore, and I don't have any friends out here, I worry that she was going to discard me. I always worried. She won't even let me talk to her, and I've got no one to talk about. One aspect that hurts me now more than ever. I got a beautiful picture of my wife over there on. She's comely. She's very attractive, even in her 60s. She met one of the crewmates that I worked with on my team, when I met her, when I first met her, she was one of the crewmates of mine the night before. I never thought anything of it. I was never that guy. Right? But now, based upon the diagnosis I receive, that plagues my mind, right? And there's issues with possible paternity with one of my sons. That if there was no worry and no doubt, why wouldn't she just want to settle that doubt? Why wouldn't she want to set my mind at ease and then stop the possible tension from rising in this home? Where that boy himself might think he's not mine. I don't know why she didn't want to get that checked. I don't know why she didn't want to get that taken care of. But it would have never been in my head again if I never had to worry about her being with someone else. So fast forward to a couple of years ago, when I knew Yahuah was reaching out really hard again in some serious chastisement. And I committed. I had knew that I had waited too long for her to understand the help I was asking her to give me. I knew I had waited too long and things were falling apart. And I said, enough is enough. I stepped to the plate to fix every dilemma before, getting my child back in school when she dropped the ball, getting their teeth fixed when she dropped the ball. I had to step up to the plate again, and she was still here. She was still living with us. And then I fell down outside in this building in the rain, and I blew open a previous injury in my back with a disc injury, herniated disc. And I fell twice. And from that moment on, everything's fallen apart. Because that's when I went to the doctor. She didn't take me right away. It was already things were really, really getting bad. We started to record things because she was making claims about us that weren't true. We started doing videos because we wanted her to see how she would turn on us from simple questions. She was accusing us of attacking her all the time when it was simple questions. And then she started to make claims about moments in time where two people were together talking to her, and she remembers it and says, no, this person was never in the room. And then she changes the time of day, and then she changes the circumstance, and then she changes it again, and then she changes it again. And every time she would find out one of her changes was so outlandish that she'd try to backtrack it and retract it. She wouldn't then realize, oh, she's now admitting that she's lying here and finding out this lie didn't work. And she's actually going, I'm going to tell another lie right after I knew this lie didn't work. And we told her it didn't work. This is the kind of thing we just didn't understand. We just didn't understand. Still don't understand. Everything I asked her to consider, it would just be, no, that's you who does this. Okay, so you're saying I do everything wrong? I never said that, is what she would say to that. But you just said for every individual thing, it's all my fault. You don't do it, it's me. And for the people at Calvary, my wife has been blaming me for her sin our entire marriage. I was never blaming her for my sin. I asked for prayer because she was causing stumbling. And then I was accused of blaming someone for my sin instead of getting the help I need. And yet, you know how many years ago that was, folks? That was 5 years ago when I first bumped into this church that my wife is now in. So I have to ask the community, I never cheated on her. I can't afford a divorce. I can't even afford to begin a divorce. I don't even want that happening to us. But I'm being told by people in her church where she's got smiles and, I don't even want to show you the video. I can't look at it. This was just a few weeks ago. She's attending a church that's preaching reconciliation, preaching this stuff, and yet the people are outside of that building telling me, what if she doesn't want to reconcile? Okay, well, that means she's not a Christian. She's not a follower of the way. She doesn't believe in the commandments. She doesn't believe in what we're told to do. So how do I even have a defense now? How do I say, Anne, I know you need truth. I know you need light. I know you need confession. I know you need repentance. I know you need love. How do I pull you from this fake church where you're getting your narcissistic supply and you're out here going to all these events, being with these people, but you're not being with your family? You're not fixing and reconciling with us. And I'm being told by your church body, what if she doesn't want to reconcile, Mr. David? I'm getting leered at and taunted by Mrs. Arelis out in front of the very church. And now if Moshe's watching, or if he does watch, you got to hear this. Everybody needs a small update, right? Chosen People Ministries, a messianic, Torah-believing, Christ-affirming, right? Torah-believing, Christ-affirming group of Jewish people that believe they're converted, right? And they own this building. They own this building, and it's specifically set up for teaching Messiah, right, to the Jewish community that wants to come to Messiah. So they hold true to Torah. They hold the feast days, right? They keep the Sabbath. They teach and preach the Sabbath on Saturday in the building through the fellowship name Beth Shar Shalom. That's the fellowship name that houses Chosen People's Ministries building. Okay? So we're talking Torah, feast days, adherence to, right, the Sabbath, obedience taught. But when I watch them, it's a little bit of Rome. It's like I don't know why they're doing it the same way the Protestants do it. Fair enough, right? But here's what happened. Out of the blue, while my wife is no longer showing up on Sundays, no longer showing up on Wednesdays, no longer communicating with us, I'm wondering what's going on. And I don't know how I was led. I just decided to tune into Calvary Life NYC because they're on my Facebook feed. I tune in and I notice that they haven't had a stream. They don't do any broadcasts. They're doing this, the feast, fasting and praying. And it's like a 30-day thing. And I'm looking through all these videos. And then all of a sudden I see a video. It's kind of broken. It's about the last 40 minutes of an hour sermon on Romans 3, and he destroys it. He's the worst pastor I've ever seen. The same pastor I pulled my wife and my whole family out of this church when they were in the park. Yeah, I pulled my wife out of him because the doctrine was just, it's just not right. I sense it. Right? So he's done. He closes in prayer, and he's take a bathroom break, do this, do that, come back, and we'll do a couple songs of worship, and we'll break for the day and go for fellowship at someone's house, usually his house. And so the camera pans back and zooms back, and up pops my wife. Hi, oh, yeah, hugging and squeezing and loving each other. Oh, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here perishing and suffering with all of her life's responsibilities as a mother to a 23-year-old autistic boy who can't wipe his bottom, who can't speak, right? He has now been abandoned, and the only person capable of taking care of him is me. I'm on my back. If you guys want to see, you guys want to see it? You don't really want to see it, do you? I'll go to full screen, right? Cam soars low. It's my bad. My son said I was muted, but okay, what I was showing you was just the chroma. I was muted because I don't have a mic attached to that full screen. I have different scenes, and I use the scenes to build other scenes so I don't bog down my PC. He's telling me, "Oh no, you're muted," and that's fine. My apologies. Sorry, Devin. I just don't have the camera with the microphone attached to that page, so I didn't know. That's fine. So yeah, I was muted. Sorry, folks. I'm at this for an hour. So I want to cut to the chase. If I can, I don't think I can. Friends, I want truth. But I know for a fact that if I don't find it, I won't be able to find her. I won't be able to. So is Yahuah separating me from her and I'm being pulled out of Sodom, right? And is she looking back because she went back to that church? I mean, it's so unreal. I went to the church after this, went to where she is. So you got Beth Shar Shalom, right? Torah and Calvary, no Torah. Same building. That's what happened. I got all messed up and bent out of shape. My apologies. So, my apologies. Chosen People Ministries owns the building. They house a Torah keeping group, right? And they house a non Torah keeping group on a Sunday. They don't believe in keeping the Sabbath. They don't believe in the Torah. They preach against Torah, basically. They preach against the law. They preach Easter, Christmas. They preach reconciliation. They preach restoration. They preach faith alone, once saved, always saved. They don't say anything about, James and faith without works is no faith at all. They don't technically lean into truth, and the pastor mishandles it. And here's my wife, after 25 years of never being understood, never, or she's just changed it. The ADD we talked about when we first got together, she understood and she worked with me, and I was very thankful for all of her education, for all of the teachings she's gone through, the way she would handle me. I was grateful. But now, this way I have to be, where I have to set things up for myself so I don't lose my mind. I don't lose track of things. I ask questions a certain way. I behave a certain way, and sometimes I get a little frantic and panicky if I'm misunderstood, and I'm desperate to fix it because I love her. I loved her. I never wanted a misunderstanding, because a misunderstanding between her and I meant there was an impasse, and we were starting to never solve those problems and go to bed at night without them solved. And you're talking about a guy that I was so grateful that she'd come into my life that I couldn't sleep. I used to watch her sleep. I used to hold her in my arms, clean her house, take care of her, clean this house, rearrange furniture, cook the food for the kids, take care of the babies, 27 diapers a day, taking them to school, picking them up. Yeah, I know that job is hard. You're a parent? Kudos to you women that do that job. That's a hard job. Plus, you got to be the guy that kills all the spiders and fixes all the leaks. I got taken for granted. And I asked for help. And the help I didn't get is the same help she asked for in the end. Because she didn't train her kids up, it got overwhelming. I warned her. I said, stop enabling them, stop handing them things, stop giving them things. Teach them how to do things. Stop giving them fish and teach them how to fish. It all caught up to us, right? And so as I'm trying to right my life and return to Yahuah, and I'm looking for a way to make right, find a church family, this happens. I lost my son, my middle boy. I can't even go into the details right now. It's too long of a video. But he had an issue with me where he put his hands on me and he indicated through a lack of indication that he was in danger. He couldn't. Oh, you got to have context. My wife had a psychotic event where she tried to unalive herself by using a kitchen knife with my son's hand on it. And that son was Vance. And that destroyed him. And she denies it. She's in denial over it. She's in denial over a lot of the things that happened in our past. But this is the one that broke her. This is the one that made her flee. Now, if she often did the, just kill me, that's what you want. Just get it over with. She often did that. There was something wrong. A behavior that nobody ever saw but us. And so I wasn't a witness to this event, but my two children were. My youngest boy, Devin, had to break it up. He gave testimony to this event because he almost took his life because of it. This is how serious this is. So out front of this church where I'm trying to get my wife, I didn't even know she was parked behind me when I walked up to the door. And I'm greeted by someone whose husband I reached out to 5 years ago, asking for help. Matthew 18, asking for help to reach her. And his wife comes out after hearing preaching on reconciliation the week before and the week after. She comes out and says, what if your wife doesn't want to reconcile, Mr. David? Well, I can only assume that some sort of false narrative, slanderous account has been handed to this woman, because why is she responding solely in the flesh to this? Why is that? Why is there no adherence to anything? I mean, I have 3 children with this woman, 25 years of a history that we never actually got to do anything with. Does anybody ever realize that she never allowed me to be anything other than nothing? She stood in this doorway right here. It's over there behind the green. Just weeks ago and said, as she was dressing to abandon us again for the night, you could have done anything. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Anything I set my mind to? Because you were set against everything I ever wanted to do. She just spent weeks complaining about speakers and my hobbies and my habits and things I did to save us money that I could have done to make us money if we didn't live here. I mean, if I had a workshop, if I had a garage, I could have made speakers and sold them. I could have fixed speakers. I've got some hobbies. I've got some knacks. I've got some affinities. I've got some skills. I've got some talents. Not once. You know how many businesses I started that she got in the way of ever completing? She's going to lie. Fusionatrix, Maximum FPS, right? What's a couple other ones? You remember any of the other businesses? Game Smack. Game Smack TV. Yeah, these were full. Even the idea of businesses that she could have run. Some of these were full-fledged things that I had done. She had supported me in web development for a pizzeria down here. It was the very first pizzeria outside of a Papa John's and a Domino's that had delivery. We're talking before DoorDash, right? I did it, and I got it to climb on top of the Google search, and their business took off so hard that they couldn't keep up with it. Did this thing just reset? No, it just hit an hour. Yeah, they couldn't keep up with it, and it was a nefarious business, and so it closed down ultimately, sadly. But that's the only thing my wife ever supported me on, and it worked. It actually worked. So the question is, Ann, what do you think I could have done with 25 years? You wouldn't even let me be your husband. You wouldn't even let me be your husband. You asked me to be in charge of certain things in this house, right? But you wouldn't let me be in charge of any of them. You wouldn't let me set any boundaries, any rule sets, and you wouldn't let me have the ability to ask anybody anything. I couldn't ask you to keep a pantry the way I wanted to keep it. You just put anything in everywhere you wanted. I couldn't ask you to help me rotate products in the refrigerator right so food wouldn't rot. I couldn't even ask you to not buy food and then stuff it in the back of the refrigerator so it would be forgotten. I couldn't ask you to make necessary changes to accommodate change as it happened in our lives. You always just said you were overwhelmed. And then there's the ultimate issue where we call it the black chair dilemma, where I'm moving chairs in the house because Adrian needs to have a chair to sit in the shower with so he can shower and bathe himself, because I started getting him to do it. So I asked for people to get the chairs together that I could use, and there's like 4 or 5 of them, and they're all occupied except for one. And I knew which one, and I asked someone to bring that chair to the bathroom. It's an IKEA chair with just a plastic clip-on thing on a metal frame, so it won't rust, and it'll do fine. And so that's the deal. And my wife says, there's no way. There's a chair out here, but can't do anything with it. And I know this is wrong. And I'm like, what chair are you talking about? The one that Adrian's sitting in. Where's Adrian? He's sitting at his terminal. So I go out there, and he's at his terminal, and yes, he is sitting in the black chair that I want to put into the bathroom, into the shower. And right next to him are 2 completely empty office chairs. And my wife is telling me, this is an impossible dilemma. It's not solvable. She literally says, this is not solvable. And I showed up, and I solved it within a millisecond. Adrian, can you sit in that chair, please? Thank you. Can you scooch into your terminal? There you go. Thanks. And then I put the other office chair in Vance's space. So there's my chair that nobody's sitting in Vance's space, and Vance's chair is now in Adrian's space, and the black chair is now in the bathroom. Something that my wife said was impossible to handle. And I said, that can't be right. So this is the dilemma I'm facing. If my wife says it, it's just true. And if I prove it wrong, she's not thankful. And that even extends to the point where if she thinks I've done something wrong and I really haven't, she's not happy. Think on that for a second. If she thinks I've done something wrong and I can demonstrate that it's not true, she's not happy. Oh, you mean you're not the jerk I thought you were? That doesn't happen. Now she's upset because I'm telling her she's wrong. Doesn't that sound like something to look into? So in going forward, I'm going to cut this off because I got another stream I want to do. I want to teach on 1 Peter 3. I want to record that before the night's over. trying to find the truth out there so I have it and I can say, and here is the truth. Now, I can plainly see and say that I know the Ruach HaKodesh is within me. I can say it because I know I'm responding the way I should to sin. That's my own. I know what fruit is. I know what repentance is. I know what reconciliation is. And I know what hypocrisy is. And I know I can't even talk about what I worry about my wife unless I looked at myself. And I did. And there's a lot of damage here. I have abandonment issues. I have a lot of issues. I actually have never been able to become anything or anyone at any point in time. No career. My wife says I could have done anything. She's not wrong. I'm a bassist. Piano, no. I can't read music, but I'm a bassist. I can sing. I have reasonable, decent culinary skills. Carpentry, construction, name it. I mean, I can't fix a car, but I have lots of skills. Web development. Yeah, she's not wrong. I'm a creative individual. I'm an artist as well. My chops are down because I raised kids. I gave it all to them. I gave it all to her. And I spent my time trying to create systems in this house to make everything not convenient for people, efficient for people, because that's what's important. My wife wanted time with the family. I wanted time with her. I wanted us all to be together. So it's important that if I'm going to try to reach her and I'm going to pull her out of a fake church, I'm going to have truth. I'm going to have a real body of believers to support me. I'm going to have a faith fellowship family here for her because she needs it. Because I will want her to actually administer and call these other people her friends. I've already reached out to these people and said, hey, Easter, Christmas, Law, you guys you got to know the Greek and Hebrew a little bit, right? Because you just can't argue about Paul or even argue for him if you don't know what he's really saying when he's saying you're not under the law here, but we uphold the law there. You have to know what he's saying. And I don't think anybody does anymore, except for a few. And that's what my hope is. That the remnant shows up. But now, I mean, here's the problem. I've got people saying that the remnant is the slave trade people from Egypt and, the black. There's people that say this. And you've got the Hebrew Israelites coming out of that. And so you got that and how many false groups do you have in that group? How many people do you see showing up and rising in this Yahusha thing saying, I'm a prophet, I'm this, I'm that? Meanwhile, I mean, I got people showing pictures of themselves, strong body, strong mind, and all I see is fat kids in pajamas. Fat men in pajamas. And they're bragging about stuff that's not there to be bragged about, claiming to be prophets, claiming to be this, claiming to be that. It's all over this place. And I'm getting slammed with this person saying this and slammed with that person saying this. And I see people that I like that all of a sudden it looks like they don't know what Paul's saying either, but then maybe I don't know what they're saying. I got people that I talked to about today. I just said, hey, there's this picture you got here, this obvious AI poster, because I know you're not this prolific artist, because even if you were this prolific artist, you couldn't bang out a poster like that every 5 minutes. You couldn't. So yeah, there's like a lot of AI elements going on, and if you're smart, you keep a lot of your AI sources, and so you can reuse them properly. I've learned how to program ChatGPT so it's not such a punk. So I get it. So I simply asked him, hey, you know what? I said, do you think AI is competing with itself? Because that looks an awful lot like the image I used for Screw Tape. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay with that. It's okay. Are you talking about Screw Tape? So I asked, and it seems odd that I'm bumping into people that are posting all these amazing things about how they're garters of the Torah, and you want they want you to believe they're so gifted in the word and so gifted in knowledge that's beyond anything anybody could grasp, right? But yet in the realm of the supernatural and in the realm of other writings, in the realm of the world, it's almost odd that somebody might not know, but I'm forgiving. I mean, who Screw Tape is in the Screw Tape letters. So I didn't mind explaining to him who that was, but I do find it odd that someone so seemingly adept and seemingly having such spiritual growth and have manifested so much that they want you to, basically follow them, kind of. That there's stuff missing everywhere I look. Everywhere. Now, I will truly say this, my heart has not been stirred to speak out loud and cry out loud and praise Yah out loud with hallelujahs. Not since I heard Moshe the other night. Not since the other night. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Not for years. So while I don't have anything to say against what he's teaching, I want him to know that in my search for a true church family, a place that I can bring her if she's mine to keep, because I can't afford all this swinging around. I got to find it. I got to have this message. I got to have the truth, and I have to have her believe it, because I'm at the end of my life here, so to speak, if nothing changes. My son's life and my life is the same thing every day, verbatim. There's no change in this routine, and it's starting to be very sad. I wake up at noon, we get up at noon, and I got to go into the bathtub because I'm either freezing cold because of how the cancer works in my back, or I'm freezing cold because the temperature's not right in the house, or I'm overwhelmed from the neuropathy, or I'm just overwhelmed because I'm so very alone, and I'm so very nervous. And I've got to watch my son watch me perish. I've got to watch my son watch me long suffering, waiting for her to come home every day. The alarms on my phone still go off at all the times where I could expect her. I still look at the clock at 6:50, 7:20, and I'm waiting for her to come home, waiting for the day. Because, Ann David, wife, you said to me eventually you would come home. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. What event must happen? What event must happen for you to come home? My repentance? Okay. What about yours? Wouldn't my son need to see that? Wouldn't all of my children need to see that? Wouldn't a great multitude of the heavenly hosts rejoice if you returned? Wouldn't Yahuah want this? Anybody know how often I wanted to sing to her and play my guitar for her? Anybody know how often I walked in? This is what
I don't understand. If she was such in danger, right, all the time, and that's what she felt, because I don't know what she's saying, why she's staying away. Would I get up every single night, every couple hours, and go look in on her to see if she was all right? Would I go and look at my children? Would I go and look? If I hated her so much and I wanted her to be hurt and I wanted her to suffer and I wanted her to feel alone and I wanted her to feel abandoned and I wanted her to feel unloved, if I wanted all that, wouldn't every living moment be torture for her? If I was the guy that had a bad day somewhere else and took it out on his family, wouldn't everybody know that? Wouldn't my kids testify to that? Yeah. So things didn't get hairy until about 12 years into the marriage. And even then, it was another 5 years before things got so out of control that people started to notice we were yelling a lot. But when she just would kept telling me, Joel, Ed, Richie Cancel, Mr. Murphy, Mrs. Arelis, say it to me again. Because I've been living with 26 years wondering when my wife was going to want to reconcile with me. Reconcile anything. The problem is that I've got people who are stuck in the world of what Hollywood or media will say what narcissism is. And they'll get this idea of what narcissism is, and they won't understand it. That a tender young girl, a precious girl like my wife, might not even know she has it. And it might not ever trigger until a guy like me shows up and challenges her in ways that she's never been challenged before. And that's what happened. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't mean to her. She made mistakes, and I challenged those mistakes, and I asked her to look at them under the light, and I asked her to identify them for what they were. And if the things she did were dumb, the only way she'd ever change them is if she said it was dumb. I got into the realm of not being able to actually talk to her anymore because she'd get caught in this circle where she wouldn't understand that opinion doesn't matter. And statements like, I don't care what you think and I don't care what your opinion is, she doesn't know it goes both ways. And I'll try to explain it. If there is a way that is right, my opinion doesn't matter. Neither does yours. What matters is if we're aligned with it objectively as a truth. Subjective truth has to be tested, right? Subjective truth isn't truth unless it's tested and weighed against an absolute or an objective truth. The problem is the world is talking about, there's no such thing as truth anymore. There's my truth, there's your truth, but there's no such thing as truth. Is that true? Funny, right? Well, I've lost my train of thought now. I can't afford to be blown around by every wind of doctrine from every man that says I have the truth. If I am to save my wife and I'm to save this family from the negative spirits that are influencing it, I have to have truth. There has to be truth.
It has to be real. It can't be fake. And so I don't even know what I'm dealing with anymore. It's comic book. It's supervillain. Because she's an innocent girl in there. Okay, this is what I want people to know. It's not Hollywood narcissism. My train of thought's coming back. We're talking about a beautiful, precious, innocent young girl, okay? A beautiful woman who most likely, because of the cultural environment where public displays of affection are frowned upon, goofing off and fooling around is kind of frowned upon, needing to buckle down and get your stuff together and get educated and educated and educated. And but the clincher is what her mother said. Oop, that's a big boom for the folks. I hit the microphone, sorry. The clincher is, for the folks that don't know, is that when pressed in a discussion with my wife's mother while she was still with us, when my wife dropped my 38-day-old son, Devin, onto the ground, it was the first mortification event that she suffered, where she had some sort of break. She blame shifted it instantly onto me after forgetting completely that the child was not strapped in. I told her not to go out the door backwards. She disobeyed me. She defiantly disobeyed me. She looked at me like I had two heads, and then she proceeded to catapult my son to the ground. And then she lies about it to date. To date, she lies about it. She gaslights and blame shifts and changes the story the whole time, right? So I forgot why I was telling you that. Why was I telling you that? You don't know why I'm telling people? Are you not listening to my video? It's not caught up to you yet? Well, listen and then tell me what I'm talking about. See? That's what I'm like. I need like cue cards. You're talking about this, Papa. She's a precious girl, okay? I just think things were too different where she's from. I believe she was a tender-hearted, loving girl that wanted a career in the arts. She was involved with theater. She wanted to do other things. And she doesn't want to admit it, but her mother, on the day that she dropped him, we had this huge discussion about accountability, responsibility. And I was asking, why is my wife blame shifting this all on me? And at first, Clara was like, well, did she hear you? Did she hear you telling her to not go out the door backwards? I was like, yeah, she heard it all. And after whatever we discussed, right, she ultimately said, I don't know. All I do know is that she's been this way all her life. That statement is about accountability, because the question was, why is Anne not holding herself accountable for what she's done wrong? That's the question that happened. That's why she was talking about, did she hear you, did this, did that? And so she was wondering if everything was on the up and up. I mean, yes, absolutely. I told her twice not to go out this door backwards. She knew he wasn't strapped in. She knew everything. She knew I wanted to be able to grab the baby if he stirred, because it's 38 days. What if he stirs? What if he's going to throw up? I don't want to, I want to grab him. I want to give him that comfort. It ain't going to happen all the time because I want him to be raised right. But that first day, yeah, I'm going to grab him. I don't want to strap him in. And we couldn't figure out the straps anyways that quickly. We just wanted to go get donuts for the family. That's all we wanted to do. But she told all these stories about how the donuts were for the OBGYN people and we were taking them there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that's the story you're telling him because that's where you took him to get checked. You're telling the story after it happened. You went out the door backwards, and that's why he got catapulted across the sidewalk to his face. And then you blamed it on me. And then I went to go talk to your mom about it. And that's when your mom said she regretted raising you in academia, not socially doing the social thing with you and teaching you anything really in that realm. She says these words because you were set up to be a cash mule. She doesn't want to admit this, but the Philippines send people overseas and they say, send the money back, send the money back, send the money back. She doesn't want to admit this, but Edgar did it. Her brother did it. May did it. Edgar's wife did it. Edgar took income from Edgar's wife took income from Edgar, Ann's brother, and sent it to her parents. The exchange rate was insane, and that was what people did. They took care of their family. There's nothing wrong with that. But when Clara said I regretted teaching her this way versus family, social, and other things, you couple that with all the stuff that you can learn about what Filipinos themselves hate about their culture. And I'll tell it to you plainly, no, Ann, not everyone is like this in your culture, but everyone is influenced by someone like this in your culture. And so there was no accountability. There's always running from shame, never admitting fault, never restoring our relationship. Little mistakes instead of just saying, yeah, okay, I understand it, I'm sorry. And instead of her actually caring, she'd be like, well, what about you? Are you perfect? And that was right out of the gate in the marriage. Oh, you make it sound like I did this on purpose. And then the best gaslight of them all, the very first one, right? You have no idea about all the wonderful things I say about you to people at William O'Connor. And you know how I know that was bull? Because she changed it later and said, I never said it was William O'Connor. I said it was the people at Herbert G. Birch. You got your story wrong. And the bottom line is you're telling me that I should feel grateful that I have no idea that you're saying wonderful things about me to strangers. You're not saying wonderful things about me to me. You're telling me in a fight you're having with me that I shouldn't ever think of you in any negative light whatsoever, or even ask you questions that are necessary for me to process what I'm seeing versus a false accusation and second guessing you. I ask you the question and I get in trouble for asking you the question. Oh, you make it seem like I did it on purpose. Oh, what are you, perfect? Where are we going here in this conversation? You have no idea about all the wonderful things I say about you to other people. Why would you even say that to somebody and expect anybody to buy it? Oh, yes, Annie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I thought you did something here that I witnessed and I had questions. Because I didn't want to speculate and I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I wanted to have an answer and a confirmation so I could know how to go forward. But foolish me, I should never have even thought of that because of all the wonderful things you tell people about me, right? All the wonderful things you say to strangers about me. Oh, do you see how dumb my wife thought I was? That I would just fall for that the minute I heard it? You see how bad this was? See how bad this has been from the beginning? And I was a homeless man that she moved out here with. She moved me out here. And I had nowhere to go. So what was I supposed to do? Forgive, 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 address grievance, forgive, forgive, forgive. I did my best. And she will say that's a lie. And how will she ever say it? How would she ever say it's a lie? I still continued to build this house and build this apartment and help my kids and do everything in my power until she stopped helping me. She wouldn't help me in the kitchen. She wouldn't help me with anything. She wouldn't help me sweep floors. She expected me to do absolutely everything without the help that a family would give a housewife. Taking care of your laundry the right way, right? Doing all those things in the house, picking up after yourself, not leaving messes behind for me to constantly pick up. I had a hard life living with 4 people that she didn't help me raise correctly. She never swept a floor. My kids don't sweep. She never taught kids chores. She never taught kids how to do anything. She handed them, handed it to them. Hand it, give it, never taught. So as I tried to be the best person I could, I'm always met with some sort of pushback in the form of, well, if you're so good at it, Brian, do it yourself. What is she doing to me now? She's abandoned me. And now I don't have insurance. I can't get medication. I can't get my eyewear taken care of. I'm losing my eyesight due to the diabetes. I'm not getting treated. My legs are numb from the bum down now because I can't get the physical therapy needed to get off my back. I can't get my body strong. I can't get it nourished properly. I can't get my cancer treated because she has abandoned us. We are now at legal issues where I can't even afford to have anything done. And the truth is once I discovered a lot that was wrong with me through my own analysis and through my own therapy, I knew what I was doing that triggered her. And I know how to fix it. And now I don't even get a chance. I can actually explain to her each and every time I know I'm triggering her, because it's often not me being a jackass. Sorry, I have to say it that way, but it's not. I learned a lot. And my son Devin has confirmed a lot of the stuff. That is true. He's actually been part of the learning. And I'm doing my best. I am. I can't actually say to her I've changed. I can't show her I've changed. And if she was to come home, which I know she's never coming home now, not after this weird church situation, she's never coming home because she's going to think I'm going to want to take her away from those people. I'm going to want to take her away from the doctrine. She can bring the people. That's just the truth. She can bring the people. Now, everybody sees I'm being led someplace. Whether or not that leads me to finding a ministry here that I can be a part of, that I can help, or others, we would gather. I would want this. I would want Sabbath. I would want feast days. I want a papa. I do. I want a chance. I want him to say, well done. But more than ever, I want my suffering to end. I want my son's suffering to end. I want to make sure Adrian's got a home for the rest of his life with people that love him. Because my oldest son right there, he's going to take his last breath on this earth one day. And my wife was supposed to help me prepare him and his brothers to take care of him so they wouldn't abandon him. So how are my sons going to learn not to abandon his brother when my wife has abandoned me and my middle child has abandoned this entire family because of her? And I almost lost my youngest boy. Do I want her back? Yeah. Can I have her back in the state she's in? No. Can we just have her come back and everything be fine? Not without repentance and not without reconciliation. Not without restoration and healing for both sides. But she's not giving an opportunity for us. There's no platform for performance. There's no place to show her. She doesn't give it. And so day after day after day, I wake up at noon. Our day starts about 3-ish, kind of. Then comes 5 o'clock. And I know she's getting off of work soon. 6, 7 o'clock comes. The sun's down and she's not coming home. And I don't know where my son is every night. And then it gets dark. And there's no child in that bed. I haven't talked to my son since September. October, November, January, February, March, April. I'm at 6 months and I haven't seen or heard of my son.
And she won't accept this. She won't come home and help me make things right and fix this house. She won't help me get rid of the clutter, get rid of the broken furniture, get rid of the old clothes, get rid of the old paperwork. There's documents in here from her from everywhere and clothes from 10 years ago, 20 years ago from the kids. We got to go through it all. And if she doesn't want to reconcile with me, I'm not asking her for divorce, but it doesn't make sense for us to maintain this $2,200 a month apartment with everybody living elsewhere. She could easily work with me and we could move to a one-bedroom place, just the three of us, if that's what she wanted. And then she could get her own apartment herself, if that's what she wanted. But she's just keeping us in this box. She's just keeping us in this box. She doesn't visit. She doesn't call. I can't counsel with her when I'm concerned for my sons. I can't cuddle with her at night. And I don't know what I did to deserve this all. I know what I did in my sin. But I don't know why she doesn't want to say she shouldn't have pushed. She shouldn't have trolled me to anger. I asked her to stop. I told her exactly what to stop doing, and I asked her what to start doing. I told her what to start doing, and she did the opposite. It's like she knew what to withhold, and she knew what to do to hurt. I asked her, I said, how come is it you easily and always seemingly just know automatically what the wrong thing to do is, but the right thing to do, even when asked, you say you don't know? I'm concerned. But if I express concern, what are you, perfect? Oh, you just want me to be perfect. And it's the same lines. I love her, but I don't know how to anymore. I really don't. And so if there was a true message out there, I have to have it. I can't afford to have a false message. I can't afford it. Do you have any idea what it was like for us today to read some of the stuff, to listen to some of the stuff that I heard today? Now, granted, Moshe, if you're listening, it's a long video. If you're listening, I'd have to pay attention. I'd have to dig in, and I'd have to have an open mind. I'm not a closed-minded individual. But this is something now that we're going, oh, great. Now, a dozen other people, whatever they've said is now no longer true, right? Because this person says this. And now this person's saying something to me that I heard other people say is not true. You understand my dilemma as far as the weight's concerned? I have so much on the plate now, and I can't keep my family together. And I would need a message so true. Well, what is the timer running for? How did that happen? Full screen lower ads. I apologize for that. I must have clicked the button. I'm not supposed to be running that like that. I'm sorry. I must have bumped. Oh, you know why? Trackball. That's why. I must have clicked it with my butt. So please forgive the video. It was basically specifically to reach a couple of people. A lot of it's repeated stuff. I want to believe I'm being drawn, right? I want to know I'm being drawn to Yahuah. I want to know I'm being drawn. I want to know I'm following Yahushua. So the weight of someone else coming to me right now with another set of new doctrines to consider is weighty. And I'm hoping I can be respected in that. That's all. Understood. There's just so much wrong right now. And my son is like the same thing. He's like, we've left this church, we've left that church, and he sees the messages that are wrong when they're wrong. He sees the creepy pastors. He sees the weirdness. But my wife, when we left Metro Baptist, the Calvinist church, she spoke to someone and she was like, you have no idea of my burden. Okay. And I read on, and she told someone, my husband has this problem where he keeps pulling us out of churches. And what's being revealed is that the faith is not there, but the flesh is there. The fellowship she wants. We love having you, and it's so good, blah, blah, blah. So she felt like she belonged, and that's fantastic. I love that. She helped in the kitchen. We started to become members of this church. But he was starting to try to make me into an acolyte of Calvinism. And I saw the falsehoods in Calvinism. And I needed to address it. And I did with a few people there. And I couldn't take it anymore. I walked out of the church once, and I sat in the car, and I prayed. And then I went back in, and I told her, I said, we can't stay. It's Calvinism. It's not real. They don't believe that Yeshua even died for anybody. They believe Yeshua died just for a few people that were picked before the earth was even made. And that comes from, Luther and Calvin and Reformed theology. And we're supposed to not be blown away and blown around by every wind of doctrine. We're not supposed to be. And so it would be great if there was just the apostolic way. It'd be great if there was just the way. And I keep believing that I'm finding things, but then I keep bumping into things that I can't actually wholeheartedly jump onto because it's too much now. It's 11 o'clock at night, right? And my day only consists of sitting here and I can't even have a life. I can't plan my life with my wife. I can't do stuff with my kids. I can't plan futures. My life has ended. It's literally ended. I can't prepare for any part of my future. I can't even look forward to retiring and finally getting to spend the rest of my life with her. Everything I worked for and tried to work for so she could stay home with me. And she had the nerve to say the other day, you could have done anything. No, I couldn't, because you didn't support me. I tried to get us to move out of the boroughs so I could do airsoft and paintball and RC cars and a few other things. Start a business. Start several businesses. The things we could have done, she's not wrong. I could have done server hosting. I could have done website development. I could have played bass on tracks. I could have sang. I could have worked in a part-time kitchen. But you know what? I could have raised these kids alongside of you. I could have taught them right from wrong. I could have taught them real courage. I could have taught them how to be trustworthy, how to be loyal, how to be helpful, how to be friendly, how to be courteous, how to be kind, how to be obedient, how to be cheerful, how to be thrifty, how to be brave, how to be clean, and how to be reverent. I could have taught them all that with you by my side. But you kept changing things I said and things I did into different things. And somehow you just thought the worst of me. And so now, how do I ever get you to think the best of me? when you were sick and tired of me pulling you out of every single church. And I told you, I promised you I would find one for us, for our family. I promised you that I would find you a faith family that wouldn't mishandle the word, that wouldn't mishandle the doctrine, that wouldn't mishandle our future, that wouldn't give us false hope and false ideas, that would give us an opportunity to have true faith and true understanding. Right? And it started when I saw that people didn't understand the word law each and every time Paul used it. I started to understand that the camp that was for Paul didn't understand him properly, and the camp that was against Paul didn't understand him properly. And that became the first conundrum that drove me to the truth. It drove me straight to it. Because where else was I going to go? Where else? Is this following me? It's following me. I got to stop it for a second so it doesn't follow. 1 second. Now, 2 seconds. What I need, Moshe, is a miracle. What I need is an income of $4,600 every 2 weeks, because I have to pay for the damage that she's done throughout our lives and recover from a lot of credit debt that because she did dumb and I did dumb based upon no reconciling properly. But she does about $4K every 2 weeks, and she still pays rent here. She still pays the bills here. She just won't live here. And anytime she wants, she can pull the plug. And that's not right. It's not right. It's not right that she could have such coercive control over us, because that's not legal. It's not right that Ann David has such coercive control over our whole lives, and I've got no say in any of what happens to me. That's been the gist of it. I've had no say. So, can you imagine what's happening now as I'm trying to reach people, and I'm trying to reach people the right way? I mean, I don't preach going to heaven. I preach kingdom ideology where heaven and earth are one, right? But I know that Scripture says some things that, man, you're just going to have to prove it to me. You get what I'm trying to say? You're going to have to. That's all there is to it. But you can say anything you want, right? And I could believe anything, and it wouldn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is if it's true or not. And so, the weight, the heaviness of this coming now, I can't even get my son to understand what adherence to Torah does for me, right? And then have somebody say to my son or around my son that the thing that some of the stuff that drives my faith isn't real. Now, I'm not saying I have absolute truth. I don't know. Like the doctrine of the Trinity. I don't get involved with that because it's none of my, we're going to know then, not now. Now we know in part, then we know fully. Of course, if he's God, he's God. If he's not, he's still the Son of God. He still has a place. There's still the three. I still get this thing. I still understand it.
But I don't have the labels I need to put on it. I don't need to do this, right? I pray to Yahuah in Yahushua's name, right? And I respond to what we would say would be the Ruach HaKodesh, which would be a moral code of sorts that's written on my heart. I know right and wrong, right? But I also know that I'm always changing, and that doesn't happen if I don't adhere to Torah, to at least what I know, you know? I know I don't continue to change, and I don't continue to find peace, and I don't continue to progress or get anything done. Without him, I can do nothing. And I'm getting it. But how do I corral the family in on something like this? I mean, some of my new friends, I'm under the impression that even if I say God by accident, because I'm moving from one thing to the other and breaking habits, are they just going to hate me and ban me? If I speak out right now, like later tonight, or I record about 1 Peter 3 and what it really means for a wife to toe the line, instead of jumping into the pit of flesh with the husband, if the husband's in the flesh, if he's falling out of the word, the worst thing you could do to him would be taunt and disrespect him. That's why you're asked and told, you're commanded, you stay true to me, girlfriend. And that way, your behavior is what's most likely going to get him back. Not your talk, not your nagging, not anything. Your chaste behavior, you honoring me, him seeing that. That's a serious teaching. That's not a conditional thing. Those verses don't say, okay, women, if your husband's in the word, then honor him. Then look out for him. Then do what's right. No, it says you got to do what's right even when he's stumbling. Isn't that the same for me? Don't I have to do what's right for you when you're stumbling? So I'm going to lose people if I tell the truth. I lost this whole church because I told the truth. I lost my wife because I told the truth. I'd love for her to come home. I need her actually to come home. I need her to come home. There's too much to do here, too much to go through and to make decisions over, even if she doesn't want to be with me anymore. There's still stuff that needs to be done. So why waste another day? Do you realize how hard it is for me to choke down that I've been here with her for 26 years and I don't own a home with her? She never wanted to rent and buy and purchase a home, buy a home with me. She didn't want to follow through with any of the plans I made for us to go get a home. Never. She didn't want to do any of it. $2,200 a month, from $1,700 to $2,200 for 22 years. Do the math, folks. Just do $1,000 just do $1,500 a month. Just do $1,500 a month for 25 years. How much money is that? It's not invested in a home, is it? No, I was married to someone that was educated, but not smart. I'm smart, but not educated. We're completely complementary. We were very perfect together. I don't understand what's wrong with her. Everything I'm deficient in, she's my expert. Everything I'm deficient in, which is a lot, she's my expert. I knew Yahuah put us together. The problem is that where I'm deficient, I'm okay with her being my expert. Where she's deficient, she's not okay with me being her expert. She's not okay with having a husband be the person he's supposed to be. So now I hope you understand why I've rambled on this so long. I can't afford a false path. I'm not saying any path is false that's being presented currently by Moshe. He's reached out. He said, here's some things. He says it's going to take me weeks to get through the material, but he says he guarantees that he can prove to me that everything that every Christian denomination, and including what obviously Messianic Jews are teaching, right? He's telling me all of it's wrong and that he's got the teaching. Where have I heard that before? I just heard the same thing from Jackson Souffrant. The exact same thing from Mr. Souffrant. Trust me, I don't need the word. I have the word, and I don't need correction. Am I about ready to hear that from other people? I wouldn't know. How am I being watched on Twitch? I'm not even doing it. Oh, I am on Twitch. Shoot. I'm on Twitch also. Ridiculous. I'm not supposed to be on Twitch. So sorry, folks. Well, gang, it's 11:32. I've wasted all your time. I've been here for 2 hours. I don't know how to reach out to people because honestly, if she is suffering from NPD, any reaching out just makes it worse. You can't outlove her. You can't outshine her. You can't do anything. She just has to agree with it. And if she doesn't agree with it, I'm screwed. I don't think she ever loved me. I don't know. I know what my diagnosis is. And I know that she left me. And I know she's sitting in a church that preaches repentance, reconciliation. And I see her face and I see her putting on that lovely smile. And I see her acting like everything's okay. I see her in photos all over this church for their 6-year celebration. I see her in other events where she's at, like, it looks like an old folks home or an elderly facility where she's standing there and she's singing to people. But she's not here taking care of what's her responsibility, taking care of what Yahuah gave her to take care of. She's not here doing it. And she's blaming me for that. And all of her friends are blaming me for all these other things. No, none of them know me. I'm being told I'm a coward, that I'm hiding behind children, airing my so-called grievances with my wife to children. What about my child? What about my children? Doesn't anybody care about my children? Won't anybody come and visit my children? Won't anybody come and help them? Won't they? I'm told that adults won't come to verify anything or see anything for themselves because of me. How is that possible? It looks like they're hiding behind the children now. Why won't you just come? Why won't you come and find out whether or not what I'm saying is true about her? Why don't you talk to my children, the eyewitness testimonies? Because you're afraid of finding out you've been beguiled. You've been duped. But it's not like she's doing it on purpose. She genuinely can be a loving, kind, caring person. But now, I'm not so sure if it's real. I'm not. Because why do you get all the love and affection? Church? But she can't reconcile with me. She can't make things right with me. And she can't love me. What am I doing wrong? Getting upset with her because she won't stop doing what's wrong? She can incite violence. She can bite. She can swear. She can curse. She can troll. She can blame shift. She can deflect. She can lie. She gets to do all that and possibly sleep around and then lie, get caught in emotional compromising situations where she literally watches
a movie with me where I try to identify with her and say, hey, this is my favorite movie, and blah, blah, blah. And then she goes and talks to a guy from her past about how much she loved that movie. And she relates to the guy. Oh, wow, I never thought. Oh, now I really know what that movie meant to you. She says it to the other guy, which is probably, I hate to say it, the father of my middle child, or the source of my sexually transmitted disease. Either way, my wife is not interested in settling any of that and reconciling any of that. Let's go to the doctor's office, get a paternity. If he's my kid, guess what? He doesn't have to worry about it anymore, and neither do I. Right? You were never accused. I was just worried, and I asked you. I mean, because it was serious. The kid's got a dimple in his chin that I don't have. He's got structure I don't have. He's got facial features I don't have. And he looks a lot like everybody from your past. He looks like Michael Bergen. He looks like George, my friend. And he looks a little bit like your friend Tony, which you don't even realize it, but you accidentally uploaded pictures of him to my network. Yeah. You don't realize it, but some of the pictures you took with your phone, or some of the pictures you brought in that someone sent you of that guy, you, because of the backup system, your phone automatically backed those photos up to that 11 terabyte network accessed hard drive over there. The bank records show where you go. Your phone calls show where you go. And I know you're using the other phone your boss gave you, the job gives you, to contact other people. You started sending texts from us to this other phone. I watched you. I saw you. You started to try to record me, and you told me, I'm recording it so I can find out what I'm doing wrong. Well, why don't you just listen to me tell you what you're doing wrong? Because I love you dearly, and I don't want you to do it. I can't afford a mixed message. I can't afford a false message. I can't afford to go the wrong direction. I don't know what to do now. I've got another person presenting to me something that's different, saying, nope. So how do I go tell my wife that Christ has already come and he's not coming again? How do I go tell her that? I mean, I know I'd have to believe it myself. I'd have to be convinced, right? I'd have to be shown, and I'd have to become a believing person. It would have to be knowledge that was real, right? Well, I don't even know how to deal with that right now. I really don't. I don't. Not now. There isn't even a Torah observant fellowship here I can bring her to. Not one that's closest to the truth as some of us are now. Or at least some of us are professing. I'm going to go. All right? My computer's being stupid. I don't even know how it's broadcasting. I don't even know how. I hope you understand me. I feel like I wasted all your time. But maybe there's something in this for someone. I mean, I'm not offering therapy. I'm not offering counsel. I'm trying to offer understanding to a couple of people that have come into my life recently, so they understand. I mean, I loved the service. I love Yah, but apparently I don't even know who he is anymore, right? And I don't know who Yahushua is apparently I don't know who these people are anymore. And that's what keeps happening. And I hope these people understand it. Right? Because I'm wondering if I can't believe, or what okay, let's have a hypothetical here. What if I actually have the Ruach HaKodesh and this new person doesn't actually have it? What if they're misled into this doctrine? Right? What if I don't have the Holy Spirit and they have it? Would I want to ruin what he has? So you see, this is real. This is not a joke. This is very serious. And time is running out for people.
Now there's just a bigger mess. I don't know what side of the boat to put the sail, how to trim that, how to get that ship going as fast as it can, managing the wind the best I can. I don't know how to do this anymore. The negative spirit that's involved in the home, I see the same things happening to my son that happened to my wife. The same types of odd excuses, the same types of talking back, the same types of, why couldn't you do it this way? Why don't you see the way I think? Why don't you see it this way? And I was told by my wife that that's how I behaved, but that really wasn't how I behaved. She often mistook my ADD and my need for a little bit of control, just a little. She mistook it for something else. I can't afford the wrong message. I hope everybody understands that. I really can't. I'm going to go. This is going to be the choppiest thing you people have ever seen. Strength and courage. Love and Messiah.